Just a few months ago, you were coming out here built like an air fryer. And now...
If he's going to keep cutting promos like this and coming at people's neck like he was with JAS, I'm totally here for it. Ricky Starks said that Jericho used to be built like an air fryer. Jericho looked down at his abs, look at his stomach. I was hollering. I was cracking up so hard. The fact that Jericho actually came out with Sammy and Daniel to try to recruit him to join JAS, as if Ricky Starks wants to get back in a group again. Like, are you high? Like, he was in Team Taz. Like, he's on his own. He's doing it solo. Like, but Action came out to save Ricky Starks as JAS was freaking him up. The same man that beat Jericho last week in his first, I think it was his first Dynamite match, freaked him up. And that lariat, by the way, that lariat that he did to Sammy last night was crazy. So I'm glad that Ricky had Action in his corner. This best of 7 match, number 5, no DQ between the Elite and Death Triangle, was so good. No DQ, so you know all the weapons came out. The barbed wire brooms came out, the chairs came out, the tables came out, the metal trash can came out, even a Christmas tree came out. Y'all, whatever it takes to win. It's getting down to the wire now. After this, now y'all got 2 more matches, and we're gonna see who's gonna win these Trios World Championships. But when the Bucks put Penta and Pac through those tables, like one after the other, that was crazy. And then even when Kenny Omega was still able to kick out after Rey Fenix bust him over the head with the hammer, insane. The Elite were finally able to win and pin for the 1, 2, 3, but Death Triangle was not having that. Side note, MJF calling Bryan Danielson a coward was a funny AF, considering that MJF was the same one last week on Winter is Coming. As soon as Bryan Danielson came out, MJF booked it. He was like a gold medalist track star. Like, he was out in minutes. So now they're officially building this feud between MJF and Bryan Danielson, which makes sense, which brings me into the whole Bryan Danielson segment, because Bryan is still pissed off at the fact that MJF put William Regal in the hospital. And I had a feeling that this was going to start when Regal got attacked by MJF and Bryan Danielson came out to make sure that he was okay. I knew right then and there that was going to be a brewing feud. I talked about this a couple of episodes ago on one of my recent Dynamite reviews. Like, I knew that this was going to happen. But the funny part about this whole thing was when Stokely Hathaway and Ethan, all Ego Page, came out and they all had some choice words. Ethan Page calling Bryan Danielson a vegetable man. Bryan Danielson making fun of Stokely's bald head. Stokely getting pissed off. Calling Bryan a
"You raggedy bitch. You raggedy bitch."
Yeah, I love how when Stokely gets super angry, he just get ratchet hood real quick. Hook versus Exodus Prime. I like that name. It was Exodus's debut on Dynamite, and it was a full-on squash match. Like, one done, that's it. And that lariat that Hook did to Exodus Prime, like, it was so crazy that even your past self would feel the impact. Like, that jump was crazy. Obviously, Hook won. The Firm attacking Jungle Boy Jack Perry and throwing him into the dumpster. That's rude. That's very rude. Jon Moxley versus Top Flight's Darius Martin. Even though Jon Moxley is still going through the crowd, giving high fives to the fans, he's giving me these heel vibes, and it makes sense that he would be shifting, especially with William Regal betraying him, costing him the AEW World Championship. Like, it makes sense that this would be the next thing for Jon Moxley, but he hasn't turned quite yet. He's just a rough face right now. I could tell that Darius's style and Jon's style didn't always mesh well together, and I could tell that Darius was trying to match Jon Moxley in the ring, with Jon being such a brawler and being technical as well. But then you have Darius Martin, who's definitely high flyer, aerial, very quick, but it was no match for Moxley. I don't know about you guys, but I'm totally here for the Book of Hobbs. Even though it is definitely dark AF, I'm very intrigued by it. Like, he's talking about how he's been beaten, robbed, stabbed, abused. I'm like, oh my gosh, just powerhouse Hobbs, this is rough. They're repackaging him, they're rebuilding him, which I'm glad about, because he should have always stayed a threat to anyone and everyone in the locker room, and he's kind of like gone to the wayside. And you know, that whole thing with him, Wardlow, and Samoa Joe with the TNT championship really did get on my nerves. So I'm glad that they're trying to rebuild him, because the man is vicious. Booty Cheek Boys I'm gonna forever call them that, but Booty Cheek Boys, mainly known as the Guns, versus FTR. So call me crazy, call me whack, I don't care. I wasn't feeling this match, and it wasn't because of the moves or the spots. I just don't like how FTR is being handled creatively right now. And like I said, I don't know what Tony is doing. He might be having something brew. And if he has somewhere that he's going with FTR, then okay. This whole Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland, and Rick Ross segment was so, like, it was so all over the place. I felt like Rick Ross, it seemed like it was pointless him being there. He didn't really do anything except call Keith Lee a big mother effer. And Swerve is so disrespectful at this point. But Parker Boudreaux came out of nowhere, you know, like, I'm sorry, every time I see Parker come out, I think of him as baby Brock Lesnar. You guys, I mean, granted, Brock doesn't do that all the time, but he does do that when he comes out with the entrance. Like, it just makes me laugh so hard. Parker, like, every time he does a move, he's so intense, he's so extra. It cracks me up. And then some other dudes started attacking Keith Lee. So you got Parker out there freaking up Keith Lee, and then you got some other random dude, we have no idea what his name is, I didn't know who he was, freaking up Keith Lee. And then the whole segment ends with Keith Lee laying on the metal stairs, Strickland on the top rope. You got a cinder block on Keith Lee's stomach, and then Strickland jumps down onto the cinder block of Keith Lee and just breaks the thing. And he, like, that, oh my gosh, like, we got the AEW Women's World Championship match as a main event. Yes, champion Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida. It was so dope to have these women in the main event, a championship match, such a big match between these two. This match definitely served its purpose. On one hand, you had Jamie Hayter, who is the current AEW Women's World Champion. She's showing her dominance. She's showing how strong she is. She's showing that she should be in the top seat. And then you have Hikaru Shida, who was a former champion, and we see why she was at one point in time, the champion. Jamie Hayter's lariats and clotheslines are so freaking lethal. Like, them junks be stiff. My favorite part of the entire match, because the entire match I enjoyed it, my favorite part was towards the end when Hikaru Shida continued to kick out. Like, I'm like, girl, will you just stay down? It took the Haterade lariat to Hikaru Shida for Jamie Hayter to finally win and retain the AEW Women World Championship. So, like, I'm telling you, that ending was dramatic. I loved it. So guys, let me know what you thought about Wednesday Night Dynamite. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more episodes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Signing off. Bye.